The human race is a very, very magical race. We have a magic power of wizards and witches. This rather strange and provocative quote by the famous Yoko Ono caught my attention the other day. I instinctively felt that it is such a delightful segue into what I'm about to talk today. So here we are. What makes us magical? More importantly, what makes us believe that we are different, powerful, superior, special? This subject has been debated by humankind for ages. Today, these questions have evolved into comparisons with artificial intelligence and computers. Computers can do amazing things. It's actually frightening. They can think, so to speak. Anything involving numbers and algorithms, formulae and facts, the computers can do much better than most of you here. So what is this magical power that sets us apart? I believe it is the power of intuition. Intuition is derived from a Latin word called intuire, which appropriately means knowledge from within. Lifetime, or maybe more than a lifetime, of accumulated experiences stashed in our subconscious. When we are busy living our lives, they keep repeating themselves in perceptible patterns, and it is in these patterns that we find that's instinct. The intuitive self helped our ancestors survive in a world hundreds and thousands of years ago. These gut feelings passed on from generations to generations and remain useful even in today's context, and is a part of the instinct data bank. So genetic memory guiding intuitions is indisputable in my opinion. So it may be useful for you to pay attention to your ancestor DNA for your own skill sets and aptitudes. Like my own aptitude of logical reasoning and influencing skills have parallels in generations of chartered accountants and businessmen in my recent family history. The other critical point to understand is intuition is domain specific. There is no such thing as intuitive persona, not even your better halves. Intuition is a domain-specific ability, wherein you may be very intuitive about one thing, as I am, about marketing and advertising and possibly music, but completely clueless as any other average person about everything else, like I am about chemical reactions and medical sciences. Talking about medical sciences, my family doctor, now 92 years old, from the time that I remember, had this uncanny knack to know what was ailing you just by looking at you, sometimes feeling your pulse or asking a few questions. He diagnosed jaundice, typhoid, and even other severe diseases, but not once did he get back to the medical tests to confirm his diagnosis. In complete contrast today, the over-dependence on medical tests, sometimes leading to a diagnosis of common cold. His knack, which was a combination of his experience and other traits, has contributed immensely to my thought process. The heart of learning of my subject today, that intuition is actually a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger, well-defined, and well-toned it becomes. You leave it lax, it becomes weaker, and eventually dies. To serve its optimal capacity, intuition has to be understood, trained, and nurtured. Let me share with you a few lessons that I have learned in my journey of developing my own intuitive abilities. I'm surrounded by storytellers and creative folks. My mom tells me when I was a kid, I never used to complete a meal without listening to a story. In complete contrast today, I listen to stories all the time, and I actually get paid for it. All these storytellers and creative folks have one thing in common. They have excellent intuitive abilities. In my journey to delve into this deeper, I understood their childhood and upbringing. And what is clear and evident is that these creative folks are connected to their innermost selves much better than most of us are. They understood at a very early age their innate need to express, and also understood their skill and ability in doing so. They might have taken different paths, advertising to movies, but landed at the same point of expressing themselves. My first point and my first lesson is pay attention to yourself. Stay connected to yourself. Understand who you are. Understand what makes you tick. What are your inner nuances? Being tuned into our own inner guidance system is very critical to be intuitive. Marcia Reynolds writes in Psychology Today, when a spider is crawling up someone's leg, you feel a creepy sensation. When someone is reaching out to a friend and is being pushed away, you feel a sense of rejection. When your team wins or you see a couple embrace on screen, you feel an emotion as if you're there. All social emotions like guilt, shame, pride, embarrassment, and lust can all be experienced just by watching others. That comes to my next point. Pay attention to your environment. Not being tuned to your environment and not mindful of what you're experiencing, the juxtapositions of the conscious mind and the subconscious instinct does not come to the playground of intuition, but just remains a notion. Surgeons who have the experience of doing hundreds and thousands of surgeries begin to trust their instinct and intuitively know when something is not going right and they are performing a surgery. For ourselves, when we hire a boy with completely no experience, we start trusting our instinct when the benefits of that choice are apparent to us. So depending on intuition more and more and having a positive reinforcement across a period of time is my critical next point. It comes with practice, lots and lots of practice. As Shah mentioned, deliberate practice. I call it attentive practice. It boosts your intuitive abilities. The brain's ability to actually pick out recurring patterns gets honed much further and deeper. The brain starts picking up relevant patterns, like anomalies in a musical composition, brand proposition missing from an advertising commercial, or simply reading a sales chart, or even encoding a mathematical pattern. As a consequence, the brain starts generating empirical solutions much, much faster to the problem in that domain. This notion of progress, of developing your intuitive ability through attentive practice, is very similar to the development of any skill or talent. Malcolm Gladwell, in Blink, The Power of Thinking Without Thinking, says, insight is not a light bulb which goes off inside your heads. It is a flickering candle that can easily be snuffed. Instinct happens at the fringe of your consciousness. You need to literally get them off your head and preserve them. You need to pay heed to them. You need to pay attention to them. Otherwise, they are so amorphous that they will dissipate into the peripheral consciousness and never appear back again. For example, when a writer is writing a story and he intuitively feels about a character, what a character should be or a character should do, and that may not be the main plot. So without interruption and distraction to the main interest, the writer has to get this idea off his head and then go back into his main interest. If he doesn't do that at that point of time, he will lose this great idea, which may never appear back again during the writing of his story. I want to underscore the focus on attention when it comes to the experience of that instant. Having trained and nurtured intuition, the proof of the pudding is only acting upon it. Acting upon intuition is pretty much the only proof of its existence. And acting upon intuition makes a person transcend time and space. He sees the harmony in everything. Ladies and gentlemen, intuition is the magic muscle that's available to all of us, you and me, to be understood, trained, and nurtured, to realize the full human potential. I'm going to conclude in the words of my favorite MASH guy, Alan Alda. At times, you need to leave your city of comfort, wander into the wilderness of intuition. What you will discover will be wonderful. What you will discover is yourself. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.